Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Got a little haul in from Fragrance Buy maybe a week ago, and I was gonna do some first impressions, some unboxings here, but then I just opened them. So sorry about that, but this is still basically a glorified first impression. I've only been able to give each one of these fragrances one proper wearing. So I got two blue fragrances that I did not own. I got Calvin Klein Defy, and then I got Varvatos XX Indigo. Like I said, got both of these from FragranceBuy.ca. Got a link in the description to Fragrance Buy and each one of these fragrances. They're a Canadian fragrance discounter. They got great prices on all the goods. Also a loyalty program where you can sign up and get yourself sprays, which you can use to save yourself a little money or get free shipping. And even though they're up in Canada, they get their stuff down to the US with the quickness. So as I said, each one of these is a blue type fragrance. And by that, I mean, it's made for versatility, mass appeal, made to get compliments. And also, in case you couldn't tell, the fragrance is blue and the bottle is blue, technically indigo. And one of these fragrances I actually like a lot. The other one, not so much. Let's jump into it though, and I'll break down these fragrances as best I can based off of my limited wearing. Let's go. So I'll show you the presentation really quickly. Now the Indigo, that's a tester. So here's the box. It's cardboard. It's ugly. Not much to see here, so we don't need to really look at that. But this one, Calvin Klein Defy, I do have the box for, so let's check that out first. There's the front of the box, name of the house, name of the fragrance, size and concentration, name of the house up top, nothing on the side. On the back, you have your ingredient information. On the bottom, you got your batch code, 1074. And here's the bottle for Calvin Klein Defy. It's got an interesting little shape to it. Got the name of the house, name of the fragrance on the front, name of the house on top of the cap. And then on the bottom, you have the batch code etched into the glass. And the cap does click into place. It's got a really fat atomizer too. That's the first thing I noticed when I took the cap off. It was like a little short, stubby, fat atomizer. It's a fatomizer. And then the bottle for XX Indigo. I like the coloration. Has that kind of slightly cheesy Varvatos charm on the front. On top of the cap, XX John Varvatos. And then on the bottom, you have your batch code. The batch code is fairly difficult to read. So Defy was about $58 US, but it goes up and down because it's based on the conversion from Canadian dollars to US dollars. So it could be a little bit less, a little bit more as of when this video goes live. And then XX Indigo, this one was about $47. Again, it's a tester, but it is a little bit cheaper than Defy was. So the first time that I sprayed on Calvin Klein Defy, it was just on a tester strip. And I'll tell you that when I took a whiff of it, I thought to myself, man, I know I've smelled something like that before. Had my wife smell it as well, and she was like, that's a really familiar fragrance to me. That smells like something I've smelled numerous times before. Then it hit me. That smells like Y Eau de Toilette from Yves Saint Laurent, at least off a tester strip. Not exactly the same, but close enough that I think Defy was maybe modeled after Y Eau de Parfum. Why? Oh, it's kind of similar. The note breakdown actually is pretty close as well. Not the exact same as Y Eau de Toilette's note breakdown, but not really that far off. If you go onto Fragrantica.com, the note breakdown for Defy is not complete. They have 4 notes on the note breakdown for Fragrantica, and my guess is those notes were added based off of just the promotional photo for Defy. I could be wrong there, but the 4 notes that they have listed on Fragrantica are the 4 notes that you see in the promotional photo for the fragrance. When you actually get the full note breakdown of Defy, it's quite a bit more similar to Y Eau de Toilette's. In the top, the only thing they have in common is bergamot, but there's also an additional citrus there. So there's lemon in Y Eau de Toilette and then mandarin orange here in Defy. Obviously not the exact same, but in both fragrances, you have a citrus combination with bergamot being at the forefront. Then in the mid, they both have sage and violet leaf. So they have both of those notes in common. And then in the base, you have amber, vetiver, and musk in Defy. All 3 of those notes are in Y Eau de Toilette. So as I said, not the exact same, pretty close. Off skin, Defy is a little bit more different than Y Eau de Toilette than it is off a strip. Off a strip, it's closer, but it's filling the same niche that Y Eau de Toilette would. So when you spray on Defy, it's very fresh, it's zingy. It has kind of an overload of ambroxan to me because it tickles the nose hairs of my nose when I give it a big whiff. And that's something that happens with a lot of fragrances that go really heavy with ambroxan or an ambroxan ambroxan type aroma chemical will kind of make my nose tingle, and that happens with this one. Also, at times going through the mid, I don't really like how the clary sage comes across. At least that's, I'm assuming, what it is. It gives this kind of almost sour aromatic feel to the fragrance, which isn't really nice. It's a bit soapy as well from the opening into the mid, and then the dry down is just kind of nondescript, not that good. It's not a very good fragrance in my opinion. For $58, I gotta say that's a hard pass. Not worth it. If the price whittled its way down into the mid-20s, so you could think of this as a worse version of Y Eau de Toilette with an overload of ambroxan, sort of a slightly sour aromatic feel in the mid and lacking some of the freshness. That takes us to Varvatos XX Indigo, and I actually like this a lot. I'm surprised that so many people have dissed this online. I think it smells really good. Now, in complete transparency, I did smell this once before at a Belk, and that was a while ago. I saw this there, went ahead and sprayed it on, and I thought to myself at the time, that's really nice actually, like really nice. And then I got it in and I was wondering, okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's actually not going to be that good. Sprayed it on and I really like it still. It's not maybe quite as fresh as you would expect. It's actually more of a spring and fall time fragrance for me. I think in high heat situations, this one wouldn't be quite as nice. And that's because it has a decent amount of cardamom in here. It's got this sweet spiciness to it that I think in high heat might not translate as well. And actually, what this makes me think of a little bit is Varvatos Vintage. Almost like if you took Varvatos Vintage and you made that one into more of a fresh take on that DNA, that's what it smells like to me. The note breakdown is not really similar at all. When I smell this, I get vibes of that scent, and I love Varvatos Vintage. With this fragrance, I can tell it's a John Varvatos. It has that DNA to it. When you spray this on, if you're familiar with the Varvatos line of scents, you'll be able to tell, like, yeah, that's a John Varvatos. It makes sense. And it has more in common with their cool weather fragrances than it does their warm weather fragrances, because this one doesn't really have a whole lot in common with Artisan Pure or Artisan Blue or Black. Also doesn't have a whole lot in common with XX Artisan. To me, it really does smell like one of those Varvatos cool weather scents that I love so much, freshened up for spring and fall. So when you first give this one a spray, you gotta let it settle for just a second. You get lemon and mint and a little tiny touch of pink pepper. I would say the first minute to minute and a half actually is the part of the fragrance I dislike the most, because it needs to settle in. It needs to just kind of smooth out. In that first minute and a half or so, the lemon and the mint can be a little screechy at times. Once it settles though, it smells great. That cardamom comes up, and you could convince me that there are more notes in here that will tie it back into Varvatos Vintage like I mentioned before. But you get that cardamom, you get this fantasy note of Himalayan poppy, so a little floral touch there, and that's really what ties it in with the indigo coloration. I'm guessing they decided to go with that Himalayan poppy because of the blue color, and it would just give them a nice little marketing ploy basically. And even though it is decently sweet and spicy, you have that freshness that kind of counterbalances it. The base notes here, very similar to the base notes in Defy. You have musk, you have vetiver, so those are shared notes, but instead of amber here, you have patchouli. Not really an earthy patchouli. It's not dirty at all. Instead, it retains a decent amount of that freshness and has more of a very light woodiness. One thing that I do wish XX Indigo had is a little more performance. Now, I've only given it one proper wearing, so maybe I just had bad luck with that one wearing, but I do wish it had more longevity to it, a little more staying power. And that's a common issue with Varvatos fragrances. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't have much push. They don't have a lot of pop. You know, they'll smell amazing and then fade away. But in spite of that, the one issue, I think it smells awesome. For $47, this one is a great pickup for me. Defy is not, unfortunately. I kind of like the bottle more than I thought I would. It looked pretty cheesy online, pretty basic, but it looks nice. I like it. But scent-wise, Indigo crushes Defy. Varvatos is not a house that gets much hype anymore. It seems like their sun is kind of setting, at least at the moment. Maybe they'll come out with some crazy stuff in the near future and that will all change, but they don't get the hype they used to. That said, Indigo smells awesome. Just the scent profile itself, I love. love. So if you're a fan of Varvatos, if a fragrance somewhat along the lines of vintage or the original Varvatos made into a fresher scent profile, obviously not the exact same as that, but with bits and pieces of the DNA of those scents made fresher, I think you should check this out. It's really nice. I like it a lot. That's going to go into the rotation. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. 2 blue fragrances. One of them I don't like very much. The other, I do. Again, links in the description for these. Thank you for hanging with me. Thank you for your support. Stay safe out there, guys. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.